This segment of Open Up is brought to you in part by Abetaweed, the locally owned company that has everything you need for lush, weed-free gardens and lawns, from the smallest backyards to the property of the biggest businesses, and with top quality equipment and products better than the big chains, and they service what they sell. Located on Rosedale Highway, just east of Callaway, across from the promenade. Be loyal, buy local, Abetaweed.com.
You bet.
And just like that, we are back, and we are in the middle of an extremely fascinating conversation with Judge David Lampe. It's our great pleasure that you're here this morning, Judge.
Judge, what's wrong with the way our courts are funded, and what are you doing about it, and what's the reaction of the bureaucracy?
Well, I think that the process is changing. We're in an effort to change the process. But you ask what's wrong with it. Inherently, our group, personally, I hold this belief, and we'll probably get into it, but we founded and I helped establish a group called the Alliance of California Judges. We think that centralization in the hands of one person is not a healthy way to do the public's business. The institution of the Judicial Council is all under the control of the Chief Justice.
Who is?
Presently, it's Tani Cantil-Secuye. It was her predecessor, Ron George. And then that person appoints all of the judicial members of the Judicial Council. So you essentially have a system set up by one person. And nothing personal against whoever might hold that office, but institutionally, that is an unhealthy system. Even if I were suddenly miraculously to be the Chief Justice, that would be an unhealthy system. The reason it's unhealthy is because it lacks what I call institutional tension. There should always be someone in the room who says, that's not a good idea, or we need to think of an alternative. We decry the two-party system because it gets messy, but there's a reason we have two parties, and there's a reason we have a bicameral legislature where that creates that institutional tension. Theoretically, good policy comes out of that, or acceptable policy comes out of that. When it comes to finances, the problem here was that the superior courts are the courts that are charged with actually performing the judicial function. The Judicial Council is an advisory body. It is not a policy-making body. And so you're taking the money away, taking control of the money away from the judges who actually perform the judicial function in our communities and putting it in the hands of an administrative body.
Do you think that system has been abused?
The system has failed. Abuse implies intent. I think it's the nature of every bureaucracy to grow and to aggrandize itself. That's true in large corporations. It's true in the public's business. So even if there were good intentions, the problem is you had a bureaucracy that grew to over 1,600 employees, certainly over 1,000 employees. Some of those were contracted employees, which was essentially more than one staff person for every two judges in the state of California that were not involved in the actual judicial function. So our group was formed in 2009 in response to the fact that when I say the system failed, we closed our courts in 2009, one day a month, which is something that did not even happen during the Great Depression. And that was designed to save approximately an estimated $90 million. But at the same time, I could look at the judiciary budget and see that that Judicial Council and Administrative Office of the Courts was proposing to spend $120 million for that year on a statewide computer system that I recognize was doomed to failure.
How many judges are there, and how many judges have joined your alliance?
There's approximately 1,600 judges in the state of California, and we started on September 11, 2009, with 28 judges who got together in San Diego and decided that we needed to have an independent voice as judges in how the court system was run. And today we have approaching 500 members.
Have there been any punitive measures against those of you who are proposing an alternative?
No, I wouldn't say punitive measures, but I would say that the mantra of former Chief Justice Ron George and the Judicial Council has been, we must all speak with one voice. And the reasoning behind that is that the courts are considered the weakest of the three branches of government. And when you go to Sacramento and you want funding for the judiciary, if you're not speaking with one voice, you may not get what you're asking for. So there was a reason behind that philosophy. But what our position is before you can speak with one voice, you have to find that voice, and it has to be one based on consensus. And when you have a system that is appointed by one person and other voices are not brought into the system, that's where it breaks down. So I would say that there's been concern and perhaps irritation that we have created dissent. You said that we're considered rebels. We don't think of ourselves as rebels, but I understand why there was a newscaster in San Francisco that, because we were called the Alliance of California Judges, he coined the idea that we're the rebel alliance against the evil empire. The evil empire. So that's not a role we assume, but I understand why people have made that analogy.
What was the reaction? Because to found this organization that you're in now, you had to leave another. And I read your very legendary resignation letter from the other organization. What was the response when that letter got out?
Well, many judges, there is a venerable organization that I still admire. I'm not critical of that organization. The California Judges Association. It's a venerable professional organization. It's been around for many years. And it provides appropriate services to the judges professionally in terms of education, in terms of the typical things that professional organizations might provide, opportunity for group life insurance, that sort of thing. But because I think it was venerable, it became, in our view, co-opted within the same system, so it really didn't amount to an alternative voice. It was part of the system, and so we saw that we could not change that. Our strategy, frankly, was recognizing that we were not going to likely effectuate change within the judiciary, was to use our organization to approach the legislature directly and to approach the public through public relations.
So how's that going? How's the cause at this point?
We've, in the words of many legislators that I've spoken to, we have totally transformed the atmosphere in Sacramento regarding the judiciary. Our group has gained, and that I'm not saying that myself, that's been told to me by legislators in both the Assembly and Senate and on both sides of the aisle, that they now look to our organization for guidance and information about the judiciary, and we have provided an alternative voice.
Your Honor, just personally, to write this historic letter of resignation, and this young upstart, where did he come from in Bakersfield, California? I mean, that had to result in some negativity flowing your way, maybe a target on your back in some manner. How did you just handle that personally?
Oh, I never felt that there was a target on my back. I mean, some people, it is true, some people were upset by our organization, and because our mission was to take the issue to the legislature and the public, some people thought that our tone was not appropriately judicial, that we were being critical and casting light in an area that some judges didn't want light cast. So there have been some negative responses, but I never thought that was personal. I mean, and the interesting thing is our organization transcends political philosophies and any type of partisanship. I mean, after all, judges privately have their own personal points of view, and we have our own party alignments, but we have on our board of directors, we have people that are privately, liberal Democrats, conservative Republicans. So it is, in fact, there's one woman on our board who jokes that I'm the only Republican she actually knows. But so I've never felt that personally it was an issue. Even judges that disagree with us have been, on a personal and professional level as judges, have been cordial to me.
Wow. Bob, we've really been treated here to a remarkable example of prudence and caution and legal finesse.
Yes.
This is really, David, Your Honor, this is really something. This is a man that relieves his tension bike racing. David, Your Honor, that's a whole part of your life, isn't it? Racing with in the master's class at your age.
I do that. I can't say I do very well at it, but I do. At least I start the race and finish it. I might finish last, but I do that.
All right. Listen, when we come back, we've got, I think we've covered this issue, but I've got some questions for His Honor, and but we've got some good words from a good man, a great man, and you're about to hear that for encouragement for the week ahead. We'll be right back.